Alright, what we're doing, we're gonna line the front end on the Mercedes. We're just gonna set the toe in. I have other methods for doing other parts, but we're not gonna mess with any of that camber or anything. We're not gonna. I know the camber's off, but I've got new control arm bushings, and so we're not going to mess with camber until we replace those. But we are going to adjust the toe in. So what I've got here is, of course, we got the front end jacked up. I've got a board. This is just a scrap piece of wood my son was practicing driving nails in, but I drove a nail on an angle right here at the end. We're gonna place that in about the center of the tire to where it's just barely touching, and we are going to lightly rotate the tire until the tire's not completely round. What we want is a mark all the way around the tire. So let's see, we've got a good mark there. Let me see if we've got it on the other side. We do not. Let's see. Put this right back on that mark again. Sorry if I'm blocking your view. There. Maybe we'll try rotating the other way, maybe. It tries to draw it in. Ah. Alright. Let's we'll try it on the outside here. There we go. Now, I just want to make sure I can see that line on the front and the back. And I can. So that'll work. Like I said, this tire was not the roundest of tires. Now we'll go to the other side. We're going to repeat the process. And we'll put it about the same spot on this tire. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, this one's kind of the same way. We got a spot where it's not scratching. But as long as we get a spot, a good line we can see on both sides of the tire. Let's see. I'm going to go with right there. I can see it. And I can see it over here. So that'll do. Now we can let it off let the car down, and we'll kind of bounce the suspension. We're going to center the steering wheel. Well, we'll actually center the wheel because the steering wheel may not be centered. But if you're going to have to adjust the toe end, keep that in mind that once you check it with the wheel centered, and if you need to adjust one side, then go center your steering wheel and adjust in or out the side that would make your steering wheel more centered, if that makes sense. So let me let this thing down and I'll show you what we do next. Alright, so I've eyeballed the tires, make sure they're straight. I'm guessing, you know, that one looks pretty straight on. This one, if you look at it, to me it looks like it's towed out just a little bit. I've kind of bounced the suspension just to make sure the tires are seated. And what we're gonna do, I'm gonna have to get a helper. Get my son over there to help me. He's practicing hammering more nails. We're gonna measure, see the line we made from this line on this tire to that line on that tire. On the front, we'll come up about, I don't know, 6 inches off the ground. Measure between this line and the line on the other tire, and then we'll come up 6 inches on the back side of the tire and measure, you know, from this line on this tire to the line on the other tire. And that'll give us a measurement of how much the front end is towed. Then we will subtract the lines and see, that'll give us our toe in or our toe out, you know, depending on how it is. We're gonna set it at 1/8 of an inch towed in. I don't know what the actual specs are for this. An 1/8 inch seems to be a pretty good setting for most vehicles. So we'll set it 1/8 inch towed in. And so basically, if you took this, the measurement here, and subtracted from it the front measurement, you would want 1/8 of an inch. You know, so this would be out 1/8 of an inch compared to the front. The front measurement should be 1/8 of an inch shorter. Now what I think, just looking at the wheels, we're actually going to have a greater distance in the front, which is not good. Towed in, it'll kind of help the front end track straight. The other thing is, with the way this thing goes down the road, it's going to naturally want to pull the tires out. So, you know, you set it at 1/8, but driving down the road, it actually might be at 0, you know, because it's, you know, if you have any wear in the suspension or anything, it's going to want to pull that space out, or pull that out, you know. So we're going to set it at 1/8, and I think that'll be pretty good. Like I said, we're going to do the lower control arm bushings at some point. When we do that, we're going to set the camber, and so when I set the camber, I think the camber sets at 0 degrees, and I'll just quickly show you what I'm going to do there. I'm going to put an angle finder, take the center caps off the wheels and put an angle finder right on this surface of the wheel, just to give us a rough estimate, and it should read 0 degrees. It's not right now. We are sitting like that. The bottom of the wheel is out, top of the wheel is in, and I think that's just because the lower control arm bushings are worn. This side's worse than the other side, so this side actually might be sitting at 0, and the rear end is also out at the bottom, so there's no adjustment on the rear. So it's definitely probably just worn bushings on the rear, or it could be sagging springs. So we'll probably replace the bushings on the rear and then adjust springs. But anyway, I'm rambling. So let me get my son here to help me. I'm going to measure those two distances, write them down, and we'll figure out what our toe in is. Then we'll adjust it as needed. Well, I guess I'm in luck, and I don't have to brave this cold weather any longer.
I checked it. So the front of the tire we had 61 3/4, and the rear of the tire we had 61 7/8. So that puts us right at 1/8 of an inch towed in. So I'm gonna leave it there, and we will recheck it after we do the lower control arm bushings. But for now, we are in good shape. Like I said, I had my son over there and he held the tape measure on the line. I measured up 6 inches. I don't know if you can see, I measured up 6 inches on each tire and put a line, and then kind of traced with the pen over my scrape, and that gave me, a good, easy to see line, and just centered the tape on this line. Had my son on the other side. I did this on all four spots, front and rear of each tire. Had him hold the tape measure on the other side, right on the line, and I came over here and checked the measurement. So pretty easy, just stretch the tape under the car. And I went 6 inches because you want to check the same height, because you don't want to get into issues where your camber is causing your number to be wrong. So you want to check the same height on the tire, and the height is going to be determined by whatever clearance you have under the vehicle. 6 inches is about as high as I could go and have clearance from the transmission and engine and all that kind of stuff between the front and the rear. So just see about how high you can go and clear your tape measure, because your tape measure has to cross under the car, and how high you can clear everything front and rear, and then just go up that high on the front and rear. So we're in good shape. So thanks for watching.